Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to today's press conference. The format's going to be one question, one follow-up. We'll begin shortly.
All right, places, folks. Places. Jarrett. Good morning, everybody. My name is Andrea Barrick, and I am your Ontario Liberal Party candidate for University Rosedale. And I'm so happy to welcome you to my community today. To those of you who are joining us virtually, I hope to welcome you someday soon in the future. Now, rebuilding a party is no easy job. When Ontario Liberals elected Stephen Del Duca as our leader, it's because he understood the work that needed to be done. He was ready to roll up his sleeves and get to that work. And that's what he's done. As you can see here today, he's putting together the strongest team of candidates that our province has ever seen. He has held Doug Ford to account and pushed him to real action to keep people safe. And he's been putting forward a positive vision with policies to help families, some of which you're going to hear about today. He's ready to lead this province along with our incredible team of candidates. He's ready to introduce the real change the people of this province need and deserve. And now, without further ado, it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce our leader, Stephen Del Duca.
Thanks, Andrea. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to be here with all of you, to be here in lovely University Rosedale, standing alongside fantastic candidates. Of course, I want to begin by thanking Andrea for her kind introduction, but also for her decision to step forward and to seek elected office here in University Rosedale. When I think in particular about the announcement that I'll be making today, and I think about the work that Andrea has done throughout her career, it is very much aligned. And I know that she is someone who will be an extraordinary champion for the hardworking families of University Rosedale. And I also want to just take a quick moment to introduce the other candidates that we have with us today. I'm going to start with the individual candidate who's actually come the furthest to be with us this morning. That is Emily Lenouveau, who's running for us in the riding of Bay of Quinte. I know that Emily is someone who feels very passionately about the issues that we are talking about today, and I'm delighted to see her today. We have Rouzbeh Farhadi, who is running for us in the riding of Richmond Hill. We have Stephanie Bowman, who is running for us in Don Valley West, and we have Jerry Levitan, who is running for us in Davenport. And as Andrea mentioned just a second ago, this is a group of women and men who have stepped forward in these ridings that we're talking about, and in ridings right across the GTA and right across Ontario, who are ready to start governing on day one. A team that has the experience and the commitment and the energy to get the job started on day one, should we earn the opportunity to govern this province after the election on June 2nd of next year. So today we're here to talk about a really important issue, one that's important for the families of this province, it's important for our economy, it's important for the fight against the climate crisis, and it's important for me personally as someone who served both as the Minister of Transportation and as the Minister of Economic Development and Growth. Now, many of you will know that prior to 2018, for more than, for at least 2 decades, this province of ours was truly a leader in the fight against the climate crisis with a series of initiatives that were undertaken by Ontario Liberals and by Ontarians, whether we're talking about the closure of the coal plants, the creation of the cap and trade system, the creation of the Green Belt, and so much more. We also know that since 2018, Doug Ford has sadly taken our province backwards as it relates to protecting our environment and fighting the climate crisis. I think it's particularly fitting that we are talking about these issues today, given the very, very troubling, the damning report that we saw from the Auditor General yesterday that made it quite clear that Doug Ford does not believe in protecting our environment. He does not believe in fighting the climate crisis, and he doesn't have a coherent plan to create the green jobs and to make life more affordable for Ontario families while we fight the climate crisis. And this to me is a real missed opportunity for our province. We know that hardworking families want to do their part to fight the climate crisis. We know that they're looking for that opportunity to step up. But we also know that right now in this province, life is getting less and less affordable. We know with each passing week and each passing month, so many Ontarians are working harder and yet falling further and further behind. And we also know that whether it's our largest trading partner south of the border or many other component parts of the global economy, we know that there is huge potential in transitioning to a lower carbon economy that can potentially create tens of thousands of new green jobs right here in this province. And when you think about the background and the legacy that we have in Ontario, when we're talking about vehicle production and we're talking about tech and we're talking about the mining sector, we really do have the perfect opportunity, a glorious opportunity here in Ontario to take advantage of all of this while doing the right thing. And so today I'm here with these candidates, this exceptional team, to announce that if Ontario Liberals are elected next June, we will create an Ontario electric vehicle incentive program that will provide up to $8,000 as a financial incentive for families that purchase or lease an electric vehicle. In addition, we'll provide up to $1,500 for those same families to purchase the electric vehicle charging infrastructure that they will need. And in addition to that, we will partner with the federal government to help make it far more affordable and far easier to broadly deploy vehicle charging infrastructure, GO stations, and parking lots, and en routes, places of employment, apartment buildings, and so many other places. We know in Ontario right now, we know with the Canadian incentive that we have from the federal government that's $5,000 combined, this means that people in this province who want to make that transition, who want to switch to an electric vehicle, will be able to do so, and it'll be far more affordable for them. But as I pointed out a second ago, this is also critically important for our economy. When I hear Doug Ford talk about the need for us to build an electric vehicle ecosystem in this province to create more jobs, he's on the right track, but he's doing it the wrong way. He has no coherent strategy to actually deliver on the outcomes that we want to see. Shortly after he took office, he decided to eliminate the original electric vehicle incentive program. And what did we see happen in Ontario when he did that? We saw the number of people purchasing those vehicles in the first 12 months after he canceled the incentive drop off a cliff. If you want to send a signal to the international market that they should invest here, that they should help create jobs here in Ontario for our families, you need to send a signal that you actually believe in climate change, that you actually believe in science, that you actually are prepared to do what you need to do to help build and grow a domestic market for electric vehicles. We are well past the point in Ontario where we can afford any more empty rhetoric from Doug Ford on climate, on the economy, and on affordability. Today, with this announcement, Ontario Liberals are making it clear whose side we're on, who we're fighting for, and what we're all about. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Okay, a reminder to reporters on the line, if you have any questions, please just raise your hand using the Zoom function or write to the chat with your name and outlet. We've got one reporter in person, two reporters in person, great. Either have questions?
Stephen, the Liberals got into a bit of trouble last time you were in power over EV incentives, in particular distinctions over whether it would go to particularly high-priced electric vehicles. Are you proposing any kind of measures that would restrict this from being used just as a giveaway to luxury car buyers?
It's a great question. I think we all heard the I frankly think, damaging and irresponsible comments that Doug Ford made a number of days ago when he talked about not wanting to help millionaires buy luxury cars. We've made a decision with this proposal that we will mirror the federal eligibility rules. So that would mean that for a vehicle that has 6 seats, the manufacturer's suggested retail price would be $55,000, up to $55,000, and for a vehicle with 7 seats, it would be up to $60,000. You see some of the vehicles, the one that I actually had a chance to plug in here today, the Chevrolet Volt. My personal vehicle at home is a Chevy Bolt. That's, Bolt with a B as in Bob. We've had that car now for about 4.5 years. These are not the kinds of vehicles, when you look at that list that the federal government uses for their incentive, these are not vehicles that millionaires are out there buying because they're luxurious. These are the kinds of cars and minivans and vehicles that hardworking middle-class families in this province would dearly love to switch to, in many, many cases, to do their part in their own household to confront the climate crisis. But we want, they're just a little bit out of reach in terms of the pricing. Our incentive will make that more affordable and make it easier for everyday families to make that switch.
And the electric vehicle universe is much larger than just passenger cars.
Yep.
There's a lot of work with TTC right now to get electrified buses.
That's right.
And e-bikes and a whole spectrum of things. I'm just wondering if you've got anything else in store for the other electric vehicles.
I mean, you guys are always trying to get me to tell you more parts of our platform before we're ready to release them. But I will tell you, we're looking at all of it right now. When I think about the eventual platform component that will address climate and deal with the environment, it is very ambitious. I'm really excited about it. And as a former transportation minister, I can assure all of you, we are looking at the entire universe of electrified transportation, if I can put it that way. So stay tuned for more details on the rest of our plan.
All right, next question is Jeff Gray from the Globe and Mail.
Hi, Stephen. How you doing?
Good, thanks, Jeff. How are you?
Good, thank you. I want to ask, there is a difference between this policy and the policy of the previous government that you were a part of, that the number's lower.
It is.
So is that a recognition that the previous government was on the wrong track, was offering too much money to, you've already addressed part of this, but to comparatively well-off people who can afford a new car?
No, when we had the incentive program in place before, if you remember, there was no federal incentive. And today in Ontario, a family can get up to $5,000 from the federal government. We've come forward now with $8,000, which would take, of course, the total to $13,000. That's about $1,000 less than the previous provincial incentive. But at $13,000, we felt that was a very strong signal. Our $8,000 also matches what Quebec has in place, so I think it does put us in the right space, and we'll get our domestic electric vehicle market supercharged so more people can make that transition because it will be more affordable.
There are economists, though, who will tell you that this kind of subsidy is a very expensive way to reduce carbon emissions. If you look at dollars per ton that you reduce, there's been studies that show that this actually is much more expensive. There may be other better ways to spend this money, public transit, that kind of thing. Have you considered that issue, that argument?
Yeah. So as I said in my first answer, when you see the comprehensiveness of our entire climate plan, you will see that we are looking at a series of different options that, again, I'm very excited about. I think it will be the most ambitious climate plan that any of the political parties will put forward in this election cycle. This announcement today is one component piece of that. It's an important piece. But remember, as I said in my remarks, the electric vehicle incentive that we're proposing to deliver and will deliver on should we earn the opportunity to govern, it has 3 important features to me, or 3 things that I want it to accomplish, that we want it to accomplish. Number 1, for sure, is to help make sure that Ontario's GHG emissions drop, that people are able to transition more affordably to these vehicles to help do their part. Number 2 is to make life generally more affordable in this moment for Ontario's hardworking families. And number 3, to create the kind of low-carbon economy that we have the capacity and the potential to deliver on in this province. It's just not going to happen under Doug Ford's leadership because he's doing it wrong. He's doing it backwards. So it's 3 important, I guess, 3 important goals that I believe today's announcement will help set Ontario up for, and I believe we will be successful in this regard.
All right, just a reminder to reporters on the line, if you have any questions, this is the last chance to raise your hand or write to the chat.
For today, not forever.
For today.
Right.
Okay, it looks like there's no further questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.